Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. Upper right hand corner, we have Maars as the pink Terran. Bottom left hand corner, we have Noonine, which is actually Styker. Bottom left hand corner as the green. It's not green. As the blue Zerg. This is going to be on Eclipse. I believe it is just a friendly match between the two. It is another BSL player highlight. We've seen actually Styker in Pro League here and there. I think he's still in Pro League as far as BSL. He's arguably at least one of the top 3 American Zerg. The other two, of course, being North American Zerg. The other two being Crossy and Jayun. Sorry, Machine. So, yeah, prepping for... Actually, Maars being helped to prep against Hawk. We saw Maars, of course, in last season of BSL, and I'm hoping to see him actually advance. And I honestly think Maars is one of those guys that keep an eye on him because he's improving at an extremely rapid pace. And he just is an extremely intelligent player, as we've seen in a lot of his matches thus far. So either look for him to win Hasu League, if he's in Hasu League, or very rapidly advance to Gosu in Pro League. I think he's going to be one of those guys that really can get there and enjoy the chatter while you have it. Styker, on the opposite side, Hawk. Hawk is another guy I'm kind of forgetting that, so apologies to Hawk overall. But Styker is definitely one of those guys that's considered top. Check out him and Rogues Gallery and BSL and things like that. But also wanted to highlight him in this overall match. He's opening up, it looks like, I assume with the 12 pool, because we see no movement from any drone to go ahead and get an additional scout. Actually, opposite corner, I was going to say, actually, no drone scout, but usually you'll see drone scout oftentimes after hatchery with this guy right here. But yeah, setting up for a 12th hatch, which is going to be unopposed. I don't know that he's going to be able to... Well, we'll see if he can get a scout in here, because Maars is blocking off this front door. He's sending out his own scout. This is on Eclipse, which is a 2-player map. No gas being taken just yet, so it looks like we're going to see one Rax into expansion, trying to play it a little bit more aggressive economically to start. And yeah, so that down, we do see the drone making their way across the map. SCV and drone moving across each other. These guys, so I also, as far as Rogues Gallery and things along those lines, also I think he did some commentary for Jayun, did this like interclan. I feel like I'm doing too much exposition at the front as far as everything going on in the community. Maybe I should just post a bunch of links and be like, here, this is what everything going on in Broodware. There is the Team Luca calendar, but I don't know. I feel like there isn't really a thing to be like, this is what to look there to look out for. This is kind of an unusual situation here. Usually you see SCVs blocking expansions, not drones blocking expansions, but Styker able to go up and do a little bit of a blockade to slow that command center down. That gives Styker enough information to know what he's going up against, at least in the early game. Has plopped down that extractor, grabbing gas, spawning pool also being established. So that SCV scout should be able to hang out for a good period of time. Looks like it ate a little bit of initial SCV damage against, I assume, this drone right here. Just 2 Zerglings being produced. This is just pure economy from Styker thus far. He's built nothing but drones, and is even just like every larva currently, except those initial 2 Zerglings, going to be dedicated towards that. So both players going for aggressive economic openings. First Marine being produced, sneaking out that backside. Additional barracks in the main. No gas yet at either location for Maars. So he does want to just, yeah, he's just going to play it a little bit more mineral heavy. Maybe it's, we'll see if he even goes for... I don't know. We'll see what he ends up doing here. Layer about halfway finished. 2-hatch play, comparatively. And it looks like that SCV going to make it back to the main. Yeah, 2 Marines right there safely. I am curious with Maars. This is great that he's had this SCV scout in here for a very long period of time. Speed being upgraded. That is going to... Kind of curious the logic behind the speed at this stage when you know your opponent's sealed in is expecting 2-hatch. I mean, you need speed eventually, but feels like it's like at this stage of things, maybe 1 less Mutalisk, because we are seeing probably 2-hatch Mutalisk. But here's the thing for Maars, like Maars has full eyes in this base. Sees the Spire timing, knows exactly when he needs to get that engineering bay down comparatively. Has his academy building as well. So has full eyes, should know precisely, he knows exactly what he's up against, has all of the information he's looking for. Had a really nice economic start with just the 1 Rax into command center play. And so all he has to do is really fight off the 2-hatch Mutalisk and play from there. And actually, he's even moving this SCV up to provide... This SCV has just been a huge harassment. I guess that's the point of the Zergling speed. You want to be able to take down this SCV to prevent it from being able to disrupt that 3rd hatchery. So 9 o'clock base coming up, 3rd hatchery plopping down. I'll have to keep that in the back brain. Spire about halfway finished. Barracks continuing to produce those units. And now we see that engineering bay plopping down. SCV you can hear exploding in the background. But this is going to be a full complement of, I believe, 5 Mutalisks, as this is coming out. A preventatory creep colony just in case, being forced out as 6 Marines were making their way across the map. Everything very, very standard up to this stage. Comsat station being built as well, just in case. Also get that scouting information, third barracks plopping down comparatively. But I think Maars is in a plenty fine situation. He's going to have these medics well established. This is all just kind of moving towards the standard mid-game. Turret should be on the way from... Actually, turret engineer bay coming down a little bit late. This is going to be close on timing. Is he going to have the turrets actually over the barracks and over his natural expansion to defend against the Mutalisk is a secondary question. He's getting a bunker on the front to provide some support right there. He might need to move out with this. Sometimes what you'll see is a move out from the Marine medics here to kind of force those Mutalisks back. But there's that first turret being produced. Yeah, I think this actually might be perfectly timed. I should learn that specific timing, like when you need those turrets down. But we have... looks like 6 Mutalisks at the very least, with 2 more coming. So 8 Mutalisks, a full Mutalisk force moving out. So Styker going to try to rely on Mutalisk control in the mid-game. 3 turrets going to be there just in time. Perfect timing there. Marines over that ramp to defend it. And that's going to... and I assume this SCV is in position to go ahead and build that turret right there. That's going to be the little bit the one that's lagging. So going to rely on Marines to provide some defense more towards the main. Styker is moving up, but he's going to be pushed back by those Marines with those 6 Mutalisks. And that turret, yeah, finally being established over that barracks to make sure Styker just doesn't win the game outright. 2 Marines in this bunker, able to do a little bit of damage right there. Keep in mind, range is not upgraded. So it's just going to be kind of Stimpack running into these Marines as far as engagement point. I like Maars, yeah, going for the aggressive defensive stance to go ahead and get everything established right here. And really, this is usually, so you'd be like, oh yeah, this is too many turrets. But I think he recognized just a huge dedication of Mutalisks, and he's going to engage this. So Styker getting the map control he's looking for, has his third gas established, which is what he's looking for, is forcing Maars to stay back defensively, able to pick up that SCV. It's going to delay that factory, and able to get on that SCV line. Some nice micro on his part, eating some damage on those Mutalisks, but honestly, that's damage he's happy to deal with as he's able to cycle around. Weapons 1 about halfway finish, by the way, right there. So he's got his third gas established. He's got Lurker Tech on the way. Might even be able to get a whole positioned Lurker force out on the front door. Maars is on a very defensive position, kind of held back. That factory being delayed is huge, honestly. He needs to get... I honestly feel like everything's going in Styker's favor at this stage. Somehow Maars is about 10 supply ahead, which suggests he's just doing a great job macroing. Oh, Styker just didn't expect the Marine... maybe got a little bit off hotkey. Did not expect the Marine medic force right there still. And ends up losing 2 Mutalisks basically for free, which is a huge loss. He's got his Queen's Nest going down, so he's going to do kind of that straight to hive thing in the background. But once again, sneaking those Mutalisks behind enemy lines, able to get more SCV kills, 2 more, wow, double starport being plopped down to try to really pump that SCV count. That refinery being dropped, but this is the thing. Okay, yeah, he lost some Mutalisks. Ooh, they're very damaged. That's probably going to be it for them. So that's the end of map control for Styker. I still feel like he got a lot of SCV kills. He saw the double starport, which gives him that scouting information he was hoping for, and he got several SCV kills on things that are going to slow him down. But Maars has a significant attack force out here that is going to have level 1 weapons out, but they're going to have to engage a Lurker Mutaforce out in the front. And also, you can see these Lurker eggs going to be well established at that third to provide that defense there. So he's going to need science vessels overhead and honestly irradiate to breach that. So I feel like Maars has to be relegated to maybe just going for an expansion. I'm not sure what pressure you can even apply. There's plenty of Lurkers and a Sunken Colony on that front. Evolution Chamber working on Carapace comparatively. And Maars needs to be careful because the Mutalisks still are existent. Wandering up, getting more SCV kills in the main. Wandering through. It looks like some Marines reinforcements going to try to move in along that turret line. And ooh. Strike it. They were weak, loses additional Mutalisks, but honestly, if I don't know. I still feel like that was an okay play. Yeah, he loses his Mutalisk, but he's really shelled up at these bases, and it's not like those Mutalisks are doing anything else anyway. Big Medic Marine Force making way to the natural expansion. That's going to provoke a second creep colony. And Maars just comsatting the entire way. He is out of comsat, and I do not see a science vessel in the air just yet. So despite all of this maneuvering, he really doesn't... I still don't feel like he poses a threat against any of these bases currently. But the thing is with that double starport, he is going to be able to just start pumping out science vessels in a hurry. 4 barracks up, double engineering bay to get those upgrades a bit speeded up. Honestly, Maars, I feel like he needs it. But as I say all this, actually, Maars has really stayed on top of his macro. He's actually sitting at 93 supply, 48 SCVs overall, despite all those SCVs that are kind of just hanging out there and getting killed. Yeah, Styker's at 3 gas and at 3 bases and is making his way to actually going through. I've seen this a lot lately, going 3 base ultra. But Maars is, yeah, he stayed on top of his macro. He's got the weapons upgrade coming, and he does have this double starport starting to pump science vessels. So if he can hold on, I think, if he can hold on to Styker pushing a lot of units, a lot of tech units, and I'm almost curious with the Ultralisk Cavern over, the decision of Ultralisk Cavern over Defiler Mound at this stage of the map, being that he's on 3 bases, not 4. Styker's in a very nice defensive shell. He's got all these creep colonies. Maars isn't going to be able to run into him. He is going to be able to get that higher tier tech. But the thing is without the... Okay, he does have the Defiler Mound. I take it back. Derp. Defiler Mound's back there. Continuing to macro up. So both players really just kind of skipping... There was kind of the early game harassment shenanigans, but both players otherwise just kind of skipping straight to late game. 2 dropships also being built by Maars. Maybe trying to use that to kind of sneak a breach, go for a drop. The Mutalisks are there with some Scourge to deal with any sort of attack there. The main might be able to drop over the natural expansion. Also, the main is very exposed, and there's a lot of really juicy tech buildings right there to engage across. But otherwise, both players in a very defensive situation. Scourge looking out to try to catch something there. The Marines wandering up, seeing creep colony, plus that sport colony. And yeah, Styker's just in a complete defensive shell here. He's just playing, he's just like, okay, I'm just going to, and actually getting Burrow as well. He's like, I'm just going to go ahead, hide back, get all my tech up, sit on 3 gas, and then just start pushing out once I have the higher tier tech units. And just basically be what's the word for? Be an immovable object, essentially, across all those expansions while I tech up. Maars, realizing the situation, looks like he's setting up to go ahead and establish his third. Does have those dropships loaded up, which might be able to spoil that party a little bit. Defiler moving out with a handful of Lings. Able to be an annoyance here. But otherwise, not a lot happening on that corner. I like these Marines posted out from Maars. Going to go ahead and deny additional bases. He's got them in every corner, realizing that Styker's kind of playing more of that shelled defensive style. So he's like, okay, you got to come into my army to reestablish map control and sneak an additional base. The Zergling's actually able to run from... Almost reminds me of like the game you used to play as a kid, where it's like tag and run back to base, like safe. It's like safe under the Dark Swarm. Science Vessel getting picked off. Maars losing a little bit of control there. Great plague across those medic Marines. It looks like Maars was able to react rapidly to keep the medic energy from being completely wiped out. But in the meantime, you can see this single Zergling just able to get 2 kills very, very rapidly. And I'm wondering if we're going to see transition to the... it looks like it's just going to be Lurkerling Defiler with potential Ultralisks soon to follow. More Science Vessels moving around. Still waiting for those dropships. Okay, the dropships are waiting across the 6 o'clock to provide that engagement. Now the Zerglings starting to move across. Try to get a bit of map control to establish an additional base. But this is kind of this is Danger Town, honestly, I feel like, for Styker. Because this is, as he's moving out, he's got to contend with an army that needs to recharge, honestly. In the middle of the map that he needs to be a little bit concerned with. The dropships that could be somewhere out there. Plus, Maars is going ahead and grabbing additional bases, because this is 3 bases or 3 base. Maars is at 163 supply, is just being a macro, just allowing his incredible macro to kind of push him ahead here in the mid game. And critically, he's getting that Science Vessel count up. Nice irradiate. Is he going to be able to get... No, he's not able to get the medic Marines out. Ooh, that was a huge plague, too. Styker's plagues have been on point. Ooh. Catching all those Science Vessels, which means those Mutalisks might be able to wander around and have that single bouncing glaive and take out a ton of time, energy, and gas. Lurker's trying to get into this upper left-hand corner, establish that base right there. Not quite burrowed just yet. There is a comsat. Nice Defiler Swarm. So it looks like Styker is going to be able to sneak out another expansion to Mars's frustration. More Science Vessels wandering up. And this is the thing, yeah, Styker's just kind of playing this like hopscotch game where he establishes bases, pushes up tech, and now he has Ultralisks making their way across. They don't have the swarm underneath, but keep in mind this army was plagued earlier, so those units are dying very rapidly. That's a lot of Ultras moving into this Medic Marine Force, so that's going to get completely wiped out. While that's happening, though, we do see this dropship moving into this bottom left-hand corner natural. Actually going to fly over that natural expansion. I'm not sure, well, does Styker see it? I don't think Styker sees it. And this is critical because the Defiler mounts here The Spires here, the Hives here, this is a lot of tech, and those Ultras are out of position. Okay, the Ultralisk actually moving away. Also, those drones going to get wiped out. Scourge able to, looks like, land on that dropship, not take it out. One Ultra going to be down, and honestly, now this is just a race of how effective is that going to be. It looks like Scienceville's trying to do what it can in the meantime, but so that's getting wiped out. But critically, Styker's still able to establish additional bases. He has the tech out, but Maars is really staying on top of his, again, just staying on top of his macro. Doesn't have that 12 o'clock base saturated just yet, but 3 base versus 4 base is not a terrible situation to be in. Plus, he's able to get a lot of damage done on that hatchery. Critically, though, oh, and I was about to say critically, though, Maars is a little bit low on forces, but now I look at his front and just has a huge amount of Medic Marines reestablished. But the thing is Styker, as long as he stays on top of his spellcasting and keeps these Ultralisks under swarm, I don't know that it'll make enough of a difference. Especially because Styker stayed right on top of all of his upgrades. Level 2 armor, level 2 melee, which is equivalent to Maars on the opposite corner. Maars is going to have to sneak a base, maybe get another sneaky drop out there. I don't think those dropships survived. Looks like another dropship making its way across. Maybe if you can get another drop, take out the Defiler Mound and press from there. Moving his Medic Marine, swinging his Medic Marine force up across this upper left-hand base. But while that's happening, this bottom right-hand base has been taken. It looks like the dropship going to be there. So this is interesting. Maars kind of almost using these dropships to be everywhere at once. He's going to, let's see if there's a cancellation there. Medic Marine, can they take out the Nidus? Able to take out that Nidus critically. Ultralisk moving in. But it looks like they're going to gather up before they kind of re-engage and that hatchery's taken out. So Maars almost kind of playing this like guerrilla warfare style where it's like, yeah, I lose all my Medic Marines, but I stay on top of my macro and I take out all these bases. Regathering up with that dropship, those Medic, so the Medic Marines die upper left. But once again, Styker is stuck to 3 bases, lost additional expansions. Keep in mind that main might end up being thin over time. And Medic Marine is a pretty efficient unit. Okay, Scourge diving into that there, but not before the Medic Marines drop. I think they got maybe a drone. So nothing really happening there. They did do their job, take out that base bottom right. With the regather here, with a... I was about to say again, I'm like, okay, Maars just, again, macroing right back up. But here's the thing, Styker needs to establish additional bases. Needs to get those Nidus canals up and needs to be able to deal with Maars being everywhere on the map. Maars critically, oh, some BCs snuck out. Some battle cruisers to try to force gas into dealing with them. They're moving into the natural expansion. Looks like gonna harass some overlords as well. Another command center being built by Maars, so he wants to kind of continue to play this long-term game. Good Plague, but catching one of his Mutalisks. Plague pretty strong against BCs. They'll be able to take out a couple drones, but honestly, I think with Styker's defense, this is going to end up being favorable to Styker overall. And I gotta say, unless Maars looks like took out some ultras right there. Well, here's the thing. Styker just falling behind on macro overall, maybe because of all these distractionary attack forces. He still has the tech to get it done. Maars, I think, is going to end up pulling away in this match just because he's been just furiously building out of these 8 barracks and keeping those, as I say that they're silent, but keeping his science vessel count high, keeping the medic marine count high, and just positioning everywhere on the map and really being a big frustration. Loses science vessel right there. That Defiler going to die, probably going to just drop a couple, swarms out on the front. Upper left-hand base is there. It's mining gas, but again, not mining minerals. 9 o'clock base, somewhat at threat. Another science vessel moving up, but could hear it explode right there. They need to be careful with that spore colony out in the front door. But Maars has the command center up. Is he going to be able to take an additional base himself? He will eventually starve out as well. His main is mined out. His natural expansion is mined out. He's mining off 1 base versus Styker's essentially kind of basically 4 because, well, main's thin. That should be gone soon. Natural expansion's still up, so 3. So 3.5. So Styker in good position if he can just survive the onslaught of medic marines that keep pressing out. Science vessel radiating itself. Ultralisk with the radiation. Wow, actually these medic marines in large numbers with their positioning actually chunking through these ultralisks. Finally, some Dark Swarm to provide some of that defensive cloud, but it looks like this attack force is going to be cleaned out unless Maars completely retreats it and gets it way back across the map. It looks like he has another grouping of medic marines and science vessels ready to go. Might want to back up before getting hit by that plague. Going to turn around, going to drop some irradiates as best he can. This is a nice position where he might be able to irradiate these Ultralisks before they're able to engage on the front. But while this is all happening, Styker's happy to sit at 107 supply as long as he's taking additional bases, and Maars isn't. Maars, again, still just mining at the one base. Sitting at 142 supply, but that... Well, while he has been able to take out bases here and there, Styker still is all over the map. And even though he's been sitting at smaller attack groupings, he's still been able to fend Maars back and keep his mining going in a very defensive style. And as long as that continues, he will end up winning this match eventually. Now, he's got Zerglings out there to prevent Maars from taking additional bases, realizing his economic situation. Hatchery is up bottom right-hand corner. He's got an Ultros camp there to maybe take that base. Some more medic marines flooding their way across. Looks kind of like a split attack force to go ahead and try to establish that 11 o'clock base. Big plague. Huge plague across these medic marines being engaged. Yeah, Maars even calling it like, ouch. Ouch, that plague hurts. More science vessels moving up into that 9 o'clock. Might get an eraser right there. But I think this might even get cleaned up just by the few amount of Ultras and Lings engaging right there. Scourge chasing that science vessel. Not enough Scourge to completely wipe it out. But yeah, Styker in firm control of this match, honestly, at this stage. Irradiate actually just makes these Ultras stronger. It's good that's happening kind of at the late point of this, so they're funneling. But basically what you turn that into is it's like an irradiated Ultras to be on top of your medic marines. Another attack force moving in. They're not any lurkers right there, but those irradiated Ultras should be able to swing around. Now the eraser trick to try to clean up that 9. The drones, not able to get up to that Nidus Canal to escape. Might be able to take out this hatchery. Ooh, running in. Wow, that Mutalisk running right up into that irradiation cloud to immediately get wiped out. Nice little bit of micro there from Maars. But it looks like that base is still defended. The hatchery's still there. Yeah, the Nidus Canal's down, but that can get reestablished. More science vessels out, however, but Maars able to take another base. He's at 2, and that bottom right-hand base is starting to mine. I think Styker should be able to resupply that in not too long. Another Nidus Canal being plopped down. Yeah, Maars, if he's going to win this, needs to capitalize on these fights, really, is what it comes down to. Although these Ultras kind of going in piecemeal. Another attack force scurrying across the map. No Defiler with some support. Looks like... I'm not sure about this attack from Styker. Kind of just throwing units, maybe as a distractionary measure. Firebat's running in, able to kill a handful of drones. I'm not sure they're going to be able to get a lot else accomplished. They are going to go up against Zerglings, but... Ooh, 3 health left. Hero Firebat. More units streaming up to the 12 o'clock location. The Zerglings able to get on top of the Marines as they're targeting the Ultralisks latently. More irradiate, but again, that just makes the Ultralisks more powerful sometimes. So now Styker able to get into that Marine line at the north, plus the irradiation is just doing AoE against those Marines. More Zerglings flooding, and you can just see the stream. But while that was happening, BC's able to sneak in that bottom right-hand base and clear that out. 8 drone kills between them. So now Styker's mining has been somewhat mollified. He is still mining at that 9 o'clock base, but he still hasn't... he's got these bases up, but doesn't have them mining. Both players sitting around 100 supply. Maars still mining at that 12 o'clock base. Science vessel count. Styker has been a good job of actually just annihilating those science vessels. So this is kind of an annoyance. Hatchery bottom right is going to be taken out. But I think it's just up to... I think all Styker needs to do is just redrone, get his economy back up and rolling. He's having some trouble right here. Maars actually sitting at an ice bank. And then proceed from there. Just regather himself. Maars still sitting at one base. He's going to lift off his natural expansion and try to float to that bottom right-hand corner where that Ultralisk is going to be waiting with warm and open tusks. I think these BCs got nailed by Scourge, which is why they are no longer existent. Sorry, I didn't catch that on the minimap while that's happening. So, kind of regathering what's happening here. Styker doesn't have map control, is really what I feel like is happening here. He's got some units out here. He's still playing very defensively. Maars has fully upgraded units. You can see the Scourge on patrol. But the critical thing for Maars is he needs to take out some of Styker's bases in order to sneak back in this match. Because he's still just mining, and this is going to get thin and mined out eventually, at which point he will end up losing this match. Styker, though, Feels like with a lot of these attack forces, he just hasn't had Scourge quite in position. Not nice, hitting those Science Vessels. Hasn't had, Defilers in position to really make this Zerg army hum in the way I think he wants to. And Maars has been doing a pretty good job, even though he's been losing the Science Vessels, of getting a lot of Irradiate out there to soften up these Ultralisks and keep that count low. Also, Mars's macro has been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And as I say that, Defiler up here, gets wiped out before he was able to get a Plague or Dark Swarm down. Another Defiler moving up. There's the Dark Swarm. Gonna make those Zerglings and Ultralisks strong. Looks like that Defiler might have gotten taken out. Maars actually macroing this pretty well. He's floating out another command center from his main, it looks like. Or no, okay, sorry, that was just a... He decided to move that command center from the natural towards that 1 o'clock base. There is a Zergling on patrol right there. But critically, and a good follow-up Plague, even though the Defiler gets taken out, but critically, Styker hasn't managed to re-drone bottom right. He is basically mining at 2 bases right now. So 2 bases versus 1, and Maars is just about to take another expansion. And Mars's macro has just been phenomenal this entire game. Phenomenal. Scourge diving into a Science Vessel, some Ultralisks moving their way in. I almost wonder if Striker's getting a little bit impatient. Diving in with these Ultralisks and these Zerglings. Keep in mind this was, I think, an army that was perhaps plagued a little bit earlier. The medics critically kind of getting boxed away from that attack force. I'm not sure if it was just on movement that they weren't engaging, or perhaps not hockey now engaging, but those Ultralisks still able to peel in a little bit. Not quite getting what they wanted to. Another Science Vessel getting taken out overhead. And now Maars diving in with an attack force almost unopposed in the natural expansion. There's only 2 creep colonies. Sorry, Sunken colonies to provide defense. Maybe a Plague momentarily, and another battlecruiser fresh moving up. There's an additional Plague. The Zergling's going to be able to clean up this attack force, but another attack force streaming across. And did the Science Vessels escape? Looks like the Science Vessels able to clean up the Scourge. It's one nice thing about battlecruisers alongside Science Vessels is they can do that. So the Defiler radiated, and now Striker's natural expansion at risk. And looks like it might get taken out. Units flooding across the map. This is still not landed, still not mining. Still anybody's match. And this is going to be a close one. Scourge making their way across, do get into that Science Vessel overhead. Zergling's not under swarm. And unfortunately just kind of rallying and not getting wiped out. Another Science Vessel down. Irradiate on top of that Ultralisk, but you can see how quickly these Ultralisks are getting taken out in small numbers against this Medic Marine force. Still 3 Marines right there, and more units flooding across. Maars smells blood in the water. Burrowed Zergling preventing... Okay, finally able to take out that Zergling. That's why that wasn't established yet. Science Vessel wandering in to try to take out the Defilers before they can get to the front. But more Medic Marines diving into this natural expansion. With Science Vessels overhead, more Swarm, which is forcing them back, and it's just a relentless attack from Maars, just trying to pin Styker back and not allow him to get any sort of cohesive attack force established. But the Zerglings underneath able to just continually swarm forward, push this back, and more Science Vessels getting wiped out by Scourge in the air. I think Striker's done it. I don't know, we'll see. Marines boxing those Zerglings out of that swarm. Nidus Canal's wiped out. So now Styker probably going to lose this Ultralisk Cavern. On top of everything else, more Medics Marines making their way across. Some Zerglings finding nothing. And Styker GG's. Wow. So Maars, with a relentless attack, supreme macro, manages to pull the game out. Hope you guys enjoyed it. That was a good one. Thank you guys for listening.